Hey, this is the Steel Knight Spotlight where we cover DC Comics, so hit like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you'll never miss a video. Enjoy. Alright, and so in this video we're going to be going over Batman Year 1, and this is written by Frank Miller, drawn by David Mazzuchelli, with colors being added by Richmond Lewis, and this was released under the editor of Dennis O'Neil. And it covers the publications of Batman issues number 404 to 407. And this graphic novel or issues of Batman comics were released back in 1986. And of course, it features Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Okay, and so what we're going to do in this video is just go over some of the things that make this comic book great, as a staple Batman story and one of the greatest stories for DC Comics. And so, going over this graphic novel, what we see is that it covers basically the origins for Bruce Wayne as well as Jim Gordon, and their introductory moments into the world of Gotham and the mythos of the Batman world. Okay, so starts out with Bruce Wayne flying in on a plane to Gotham after a 12-year absence, and Bruce Wayne is met by the paparazzi at the airport after the news press makes a big deal about his 12-year absence from Gotham, traveling abroad. And then Bruce Wayne reunites with Alfred at Wayne Manor. Bruce visits his parents' gravestones and continue to mourn losing them. And then Bruce Wayne does some training in the backyard of Wayne Manor, punching and kicking bricks and trees as a way to keep up with his physical prowess that he learned while traveling abroad in previous 12 years away from Gotham. And Bruce keeps telling himself, I'm not ready, as if to say that he's not ready to take up the role of being a crime-fighting vigilante, especially because he hasn't come up with the moniker of the Batman yet. And then later on in the story, we see that there's a very popular series of pages, or one particular page and frame of the early parts of this story, where it's an image of Bruce Wayne walking down the streets of Gotham in disguise, looking back from behind his back. And it's reminiscent of memorable shots from movies like Batman Begins and Matt Reeves' The Batman. But in the story, though, Bruce is aiming to dive into the worst parts of Gotham and the city to explore what it would be like as a crime-fighting vigilante. So he goes to Gotham's East End, as it's called, where there's strip clubs and hookers, and it's meant to depict the worst corner of Gotham City. And so then Bruce is in disguise, and he picks a fight with somebody who's going around with a little girl named Holly, and in a window above them, there's a woman watching named Selina, who eventually becomes the memorable and iconic Catwoman. Then later, the dude pulls out a knife and tries to stab Bruce Wayne, but of course Bruce uses his moves to twist the knife out of the guy's hand, raises a kick to his face. Suddenly he gets stabbed in the leg with the knife by the little girl Holly, surprisingly. And then Holly tries to rally other thugs on the street to gang up on Bruce, and Bruce kicks them off. And now Selina jumps out of the apartment window and joins the fight and takes on Bruce, but then the cops in Gotham pull up and try to make the fighting stop. One of the cops shoots Bruce Wayne in the shoulder, and the cops throw Bruce into the back of the police cruiser, while Bruce seems like he goes in and out of consciousness in the story while losing blood. But using Bruce's intensive training, Bruce breaks out of his handcuffs. So while the cops are driving to take Bruce to the police department in the back seat, Bruce distracts the driver, gets the police cruiser into a crash, and walks out of the car crash. Then Bruce finds an empty car, tries to get himself back to Wayne Manor to recover while struggling to remain conscious. And then later on, we see another memorable, iconic moment in Batman comic book lore as a whole, where we see that Bruce Wayne invents the identity of Batman for himself. We return to Wayne Manor, where Bruce leaves behind the stolen car he used to escape his fight at Gotham's East End, and he reclines on a chair inside the mansion, sitting in front of bookshelves, looking out a twilight window, bleeding out his wounds. And he reflects on his life's purpose. In the moment, it plays out like a prayer to his father, Thomas Wayne, and Bruce says to himself, "Father, I'm afraid I may have to die tonight. I tried to be patient. I tried to wait. But I have to know, how, Father? How do I do it? What do I use to make them afraid? If I ring this bell, Alfred will come. He can stop the bleeding in time. Another of your gifts to me, Father. I have wealth. The family manor rests above a huge cave that will be a perfect headquarters, even a butler with training in combat medicine. Yes, Father, I have everything but patience. I'd rather die than wait another hour. I have waited 18 years. 18 years since Zorro, the Mask of Zorro, since the walk that night, and the man with frightened, hollow eyes and a voice like glass being crushed, since all sense left my life. Without warning, it comes, crashing through the window of your study and mine. I have seen it before somewhere. It frightened me as a boy. Frightened me. Yes, Father, I shall become a bat." And then Bruce picks up the ringing bell to call for Alfred to help him patch his wounds. Then one night we see Gordon and his wife spending some time together at their home while Bruce finally dons his Batman suit and scurries across the rooftops in Gotham at night. Then Jim Gordon gets a phone call from the GCPD calling in Gordon to attend to the earliest reported sightings of Batman. And next we see Batman take on a group of thieves on a high side landing along a building, taking electronics. Batman dives in on the thieves from above, knocking one of the thieves over the railing. Batman reaches out to grab him so the thief doesn't fall to his death. And this is where Bruce asserts to himself that he does not intend to kill anyone, forging one of his earliest convictions as a vigilante. Meanwhile, the other thieves fight back and kick Batman, followed by slamming a TV over Batman's neck, all while Batman holds the dangling partner to this group of thieves. And Batman manages to knock out everyone and retrieve the dangling man onto the landing, so the stealing comes to an end. And then later on we see Gordon and his fellow members at the GCPD talk through the case of the vigilante Batman. Detective Flass believes that Batman isn't even a human and that it's like some kind of superstitious apparition, while posters of witness sketches are shown behind Gordon, one of them looking like a medieval gargoyle. Now, Detective Flass shares with the GCPD his first-hand testimony of witnessing Batman while he was working at a drug deal of delivering cocaine. Of course, Detective Flass tries to pass it off as if he was patrolling the scene, while it seems like he was actually facilitating the drug deal. However, it was all for naught as the Batman swooped in from above and put an end to the scene. The drug dealers fired gunshots at Batman, but missed, while Batman tossed his batarangs, which appeared like claws to Detective Flass. Everyone in the GCPD office tease and taunt Flass for his absurd account of the story, and later on, Batman prepares to sneak into a party at Gotham Mayor's mansion. At the mayor's party, the mayor gets a phone call from Lieutenant Gordon regarding Batman and requesting more personnel to catch Batman. The mayor makes a note how it's rude to interrupt while he's eating a dinner meal at his party, as his table is full of fine dining food with his guests. And meanwhile, Batman eavesdrops and makes a mental note of how Gordon has the right people hating him, as if they were a possibility to work as allies. The dinner party guests talk with the mayor about Batman after the phone call with Gordon is finished, and Batman prepares devices to crash in on the party. Among the guests at the mayor's party are Commissioner Loeb, who has been scheming to kick out Gordon, and Carmine Falcone, a Gotham crime mobster. They talk about how Batman's vigilante heroics helps build good faith among Gotham citizens, but Falcone is concerned with having his affairs exposed by Batman, as well as the work being done by Harvey Dent to press Detective Flass about his misbehavior with the GCPD. Meanwhile, Batman strategically times his intrusion into the mayor's party. He throws in a smoke device through the dining room window, and then Batman cuts out the indoor lighting. And the next page is again another major iconic moment in Batman stories, where Batman enters into the thickly darkened dining room, emerging from mist and shadow, and saying only a few words, "Ladies and gentlemen, you have eaten well." He grabs the lid of one of the candle stands about to cover it, and he continues to say, You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit. Your feast is nearly over. From this moment on, none of you are safe. And then later on, we catch up with Commissioner Gordon, or Lieutenant Gordon, and he drives away with his field assistant, Eason, and he nearly gets hit by an oncoming truck at an intersection, and the truck almost hits an elderly woman crossing the street. The truck driver seems out of control, and Batman comes in to intervene and help, while Gordon leaps from his car to the trucker in order to stop the vehicle. Batman saves the elderly woman, and Gordon flips the truck over, and the field partner Eason steps out of Gordon's car and aims her gun at Batman to catch him. Gordon follows shortly after. Batman disarms Eason, and Gordon calls for backup to capture Batman. So next we see just a sequence of backup officers shooting at Batman and chasing after him. Batman, he lies limp on the ground in an alley out of the view of the officers, and Gordon directs the squad of officers to follow after Batman while Batman breaks into a nearby building to escape and hide, climbing a flight of stairs. And as Batman climbs up the levels of the nearby building from the inside, Gordon sees a plane above the area dropping an explosive bomb. Gordon was aware that Commissioner Loeb had Officer Brandon check the building to see if it was due for demolition, but never suspecting it would fall in the crosshairs with Batman. The bomb explodes over the building that Batman was hiding under and blowing a hole through the rooftop. Officers follow after the explosion to search for Batman's trace, while Batman sneaks behind them. Batman is hit with falling debris from inside the collapsing building. He maneuvers an escape but loses his utility belt in the process. Using a pin hiding in his boot, Batman hides under a latch covering electrical units. Officers continue to move in deeper inside the ruined building, searching for Batman. Now the GCPD officers continue to track Batman down a flight of stairs as Batman unsuspectingly hides under the steps. He activates a device that's hidden inside the sole of his boot. It's revealed that the device Batman activated in his boot was an ultrasonic remote to attract the bats nesting in the Batcave, to use as a distraction while Batman escapes from GCPD. It's reminiscent of what's also depicted in the movie Batman Begins. Batman punches an officer through a wall who lands outside beside Lieutenant Gordon, and as Jim looks up, he sees the cloud of bats flying in front of the rising sun on their way to the scene of the incident. And Batman continues to beat down straggling officers on his way to escape. The cloud of bats fly into the crowd of people outside, civilians and officers alike, while the chopper flying Commissioner Loeb still hovers over the scene. And Loeb wrangles the pilot to focus on Batman as the countless number of bats approach them in the air. Batman acquires a spare police motorcycle to escape, and all the cops do their best to chase him down with no avail. Now later on we see that Bruce Wayne takes a brief holiday on mountain slope skiing and reflects on his efforts as a vigilante, and he concludes that he needs to collaborate with Jim Gordon to make his efforts successful. Gordon's mind continues to wander while in bed with his wife, and he considers how Batman may not be so dangerous after all, after Gordon had witnessed Batman save an older woman from getting hit by a truck and also saving Selina Kyle's cat. And Gordon also recognizes the corruption of his fellow officers at the GCPD. Now later on we see that news comes on the TV that the drug dealer Gordon caught suddenly gets bailed out of jail, so Gordon confronts Harvey Dent about the matter to figure out some explanation as to how and why that even occurred. Meanwhile, Batman climbs a wall, eavesdropping on the drug dealer at their home. The drug dealer, named Jefferson Skeevers, plans a public appearance while Batman sneaks his way over to where Jefferson is in his apartment. Batman cracks open the apartment window, quickly takes down Jefferson onto the ground with a loud crash. Jefferson shows up at Gordon's office later on, ready to talk about his collaboration with Detective Flass. And Gordon calls for Dent, and then the news reveals that Detective Flass was involved with Skeevers' drug operation. Picking up at Wayne Manor, Gordon and his wife meets with Bruce Wayne. Bruce plays off the meeting with a bit of drunkenness, as if, he was, leaning into his billionaire background, while Gordon questions Bruce about his whereabouts on certain dates as he investigates for who may possibly be the Batman. Meanwhile, Bruce asks Alfred how well he passed off as a drunk billionaire during his interview with Gordon, And then we see Gordon, Harvey Dent, Detective Flass, and Flass's lawyer discuss the case about Detective Flass' involvement with Skeever's drug operation. Batman has created a bat-shaped flying kite for him to soar the skies of Gotham, and he flies over to Falcone's mansion to see what may need to be done there. As Falcone walks away from his luxury pool, Catwoman invades Falcone's home to steal his riches, and Batman watches on. Catwoman has a showdown with Falcone and his guards outside the mansion, dodging bullets and scratching Falcone's face as Batman unleashes his batarangs to quell the fighting. Then Bruce, later on, he replays the audio recording he made while spying on Falcone the night before, and he realizes that he's got to do something about Catwoman to stop interrupting his vigilante heroics. Then we see that Bruce continues to investigate Falcone with Alfred, and they recognize Falcone wouldn't risk bad publicity. So his tactics would be more remotely distant and removed, and it's here where Bruce establishes that his vigilantism is never done during the day. Meanwhile, Selina watches the news coverage about Batman and Catwoman, pitting them together as assistants, and Selina responds with disdain and decides that she'll have to do something really nasty next time in order to differentiate herself from Batman. And then next we see that Gordon arrives at the GCPD parking lot and sees someone holding his infant baby hostage at knife point inside a car nearby. And they tell Gordon to go to the office at the GCPD. And then Gordon sees other men in the parking garage holding his wife Barbara hostage. So Gordon raises his gun and shoots at the kidnappers. Barbara dodges and falls to the ground while the cab driver holds guns or Gordon's baby, and they drive off and away. Next, Gordon shoots the anonymous motorcycler that's nearby, so he falls off his bike, and Gordon steals the motorcycle to chase the cab-driving kidnapper to rescue his baby. Barbara retrieves a nearby gun and aims it at the motorcycler, but the guy responds, "Miss Gordon, you have to trust me. I won't let your boy die," seemingly revealing that the biker was Bruce Wayne in disguise and is on the scene to help Gordon. So Barbara lets Bruce go as he runs after the chase. Bruce steals a nearby bicycle to follow after Gordon and the kidnappers, while Gordon shoots the car's tires as the car crashes against the edge of the bridge. Gordon runs out from the motorcycle after the car, the driver unconscious at the steering wheel, and the car's back door opens with the kidnapper holding Gordon's baby and a knife, hitting Gordon with the door in the face. Meanwhile, Bruce in disguise arrives and leaps into the bridge's suspension bars to maneuver a rescue. The kidnapper pushes Gordon against the edge railing of the bridge, and Gordon's baby slips out of the kidnapper's arms, falling into the river below. But Bruce dives from the suspension bars above to catch Gordon's baby midair as they all fall into the river. Barbara arrives on the scene, watching everyone fall off the bridge into the river, and runs after them to see Bruce rescue Gordon's baby at the riverbank safely, with Gordon standing beside Bruce, retrieving his baby from Bruce while the kidnapper lays unconscious on the riverbank beside them. Ironically, Gordon lost his glasses in the middle of the ordeal, so he isn't able to see that the rescuer was Bruce. Now, sometime later, at the end of the story, we see that Detective Flass is on trial, and Commissioner Loeb is getting pressured by the press about his relationship to Detective Flass's case, while Gordon mentions that Loeb is working out ways to resign from his job as commissioner at GCPD. Then Gordon shares that Falcone is in the middle of family troubles with his sister in Chicago, and that Gordon's former field partner, Sarah Eason, has moved to work in New York, while Gordon and Barbara are taking marriage counseling, and that Gordon is working on a new case regarding a criminal planning to poison the Gotham reservoir that goes by the name of Joker. And Gordon waits on a rooftop at night to collaborate with his newfound alliance with the Batman. Thanks for watching this video. Feel free to follow me on Twitter for my latest posts. See you later, and take care.